Your spot, so I made a card. So I'm playing from a roll. Personal property. We need to free our personal property from taxation. Religious freedoms. We were stripped of our religious identity last year with the rulings of the Supreme Court. Civil liberties, recreational liberties. I've lived in chains my whole life, feeding a black market because of the prohibition on our recreational liberties, from gambling to substance prohibition to all kinds of civil liberties that we're being possession of a weapon under our clothes. You have to get a permit to do that? No. That is just a simple illustration of the civil authorities on the county, the town, and the state levels voting themselves access to your civil rights, your civil liberties. Along with the pharmaceutical patents voting themselves access, living under mandates that says that we can't have access to chemicals, and we can't even drill a tooth without going through years and years of strict going into debt to the academic elite through patent laws and stuff like that. Same thing with insurance companies. We're forced through government mandates to do commerce with private insurance companies for security in our civil commerce, in our civil day-to-day activities. And that's not right. Why doesn't the government just facilitate the securities of the citizens' commerce? We can still have the pay-in system and the fines if you are reckless, that your insurance rates go up, you're held accountable. Just have the government facilitate it to begin with. Or put it on the sales tax where you pay as you go for the gas or the tires, whichever we have to tax. If we have to tax the tires to make up for the utilities, whatever we got to do, I think it should be all one: safe trade, transit, insurance, commerce, sales tax, appropriation, accountability, infrastructure, investment system. And that's why I wrote this, keep on going in a proper way. The appropriations for the utilities should start at the county level, wherever the amount of commerce is done, and the money should be appropriated there to facilitate the infrastructure, like the road surfacing there. This county has so much commerce in it, but the roads are the worst in the state. Oh, well, your elevation. No, because you keep pushing inferior products on people who can't use them. We're up here in the mountains. We don't need something that absorbs water, freezes, cracks. We need our road surfaces sealed to shed water, unlike maybe a swamp. I don't see where porous pavement surfacing works. We used to have fish all over the place. We use salt brine, kills the local fish. That's got to stop. But the utilities need to be paid for before we hand the money over to Washington for defense. And all this can be on a sliding scale as needed, and be held under scrutiny by any citizen. And the minimums and the maximums, that's where the government, the higher up, the federal government comes in, to be sure that the minimums are being met and everything. No case-by-case appropriations. We get this one: safe trade, transit, insurance, commerce, sales tax, appropriation, accountability, infrastructure, investment system set, in the representatives, the obstructionists in this country, stop being able to vote themselves access and privy to people's personal property through taxation, and everything. We can do it on trade. Work is a trade. That's why it's called trade. Everything. If we make it all a flat tax on the exchanging of dollars, it would take care of itself. We'd probably not even have to look at it. Now, the only thing we'd have to keep in check then is the same thing we have to keep in check now, and that's quality and proficiency, which we don't seem to have either of in our government. I'm going to expand the functionality of the government because, well, I mean, we can't shrink it because it employs so many people. So they have to have more shifts, not duties, but more shifts. They need to open their hours up, maybe 2 hours in the evening. Then divide them days into 2 shifts. Bring full-time employment down to 30 hours instead of 40 hours. Bring retirement down to 55 instead of raising it up. Does that sound crazy? Everybody's like, oh, well, we're living longer. We have to slave longer. No, I don't want to prosper. I don't want to endeavor to live longer to be enslaved longer. I think we should start getting dividends at 30, and then in intervals of 5 years get raises progressively after we're 30. And we need to learn how to illustrate and incentivize a work and ethic in the younger people, the students. The older people, I mean, dude, I did more work before I was 30, before I was 28, than I'll ever do in double the amount of time after physical labor. There's just no way to do the same amount that I've done. I can tell you that I'm falling apart from what I've done. But anyhow, we incentivize them. We give them progressive liberties. And the progressive liberties start at 10 years old with your own little EBT card. Okay? Maybe 9. They eat quite a bit at 9. So far, it really hadn't been a factor at feeding these little ones. Little ones don't take a lot. But once you start getting your metabolism up, mine's got it up right now, and he's getting ready to turn 7. So anyhow, they should get their little card. And their card should be sufficient for them to purchase a meal at any facility once a day, minimal, or a couple of snacks at the store, whatever it takes to be sure that these kids have the proper appropriation to hit their hand. Not like we've got the instructionist representatives, and then there's some deadbeat instructionist parents that refuse to give the kids nutrition because they don't know no better. I hope it's not otherwise, but that's the main reason. People keep getting neglected with the system we have now. So we give them this card. It's an identification card. They're going to need it for school. They're going to need it to access computers. We need to have at least a card for the children. And at 15, I mean, I don't know what other changes we need to make other than giving them this card so they can sustain themselves with a full belly, so that their energies are up. Even if they have to walk to the grocery store, whatever I mean, you know what I'm saying? Stop delegating failure. Okay, and then at 15, they need to have the right to vote, because I know they got the consciousness to vote for what they want. And that's the proper time for the parents to be concerned and engaged with their children, and simultaneously the educational system gets to advise and illustrate. They need to be taught how insurance works. Maybe not. If my system goes through, they won't have to worry about that, but we neglected that. Taxes. I worked a long time before I learned, self-educated myself to do taxes. I didn't know anything about how to pay or work in the real world before I had the option to opt out of school. I don't think that anybody got it later, because everybody's so ignorant to their taxes now. I've lived it. I've learned it. I still don't love it, and I think it was a waste of my energy. One, safe trade transit insurance. Now look here. Social Security will be overlapped and paid for, but we could do incentives because a lot of people have. I'm preserving the free market. People are still going to have their lump sum of money, all their capital, all their holdings. But we're still going to set up, I'm going to try to set up a Common Core exploration system, because it's going to take Common Core exploration system to build the mechanism for trajectory of rigid materials to where we can platform the next frontier for sustaining human existence. We are the best batteries of energy you're going to find. We are the best mechanisms. That right there should be enough to get me to town and back after the static batteries charged up and started kicking the pulse engine after I wound it up. To get me where I want to go. We got technologies. We don't use them. We don't even educate the kids to mechanics to use them. Computers ain't going to get you the physics that a gear is going to get you the results. I mean, it's like going to school and never growing a tater, or staying on the farm and growing enough taters to sustain a community. It's not the ground that's the valuable, it's the work that's put into it that's the value. From clearing the trees to plowing the dirt to setting the seed. That is value. That is education. That is prosperity for everybody. Not sitting here learning how to delegate and administrate to the citizens of a community just enough to keep them subservient. We're done with that. We're not socialists. So that's why we need my system versus the senile rhetoric of Bernie and Trump that wants to build a wall. We're not ever going to have a wall. We're going to have a system of accountability that is so attractive that other countries want to embrace it. Other countries want to say, we want to be in your Social Security program. We want to have your incentives in social society for good medicine and medical excellence and transportation, innovation. And we want to be part of the push for exploration. The push for exploration is to master the elements. We don't even live at the North Pole en masse, where the big cities should be, out where it can't sustain as much. We don't live out in the deserts where the heat is hot like we could to save other resources, water resources, freshwater resources, pure water resources, naturally filtered water resources. We need to reconstitute these resources over a long-term plan. Don't come in and destroy this little community here and this little community there to build your infrastructure that profits them down the road. Don't use eminent domain anymore to set right-of-ways. There's enough right-of-ways in this country. We can turn a 90-degree turn and another 90-degree turn and still get where we're going. We know how to be acute, I thought. It's like the internet, it come out on these cell phones. I had 4 or 5 different things uploading at once. It was banging, it was popping. About a year later, barely do one thing at once because they've ratcheted it down or they're using it for surveillance and clogging up the airwaves. I don't know which one it is. But it's not freedom, and it's not civil liberties. I mean, why does things keep getting worse? Because they don't want us to be that fluid. They want us to be tripping over our words, having to record over and over and over, type over and over and over. They want to use any little niche to throw the conductive human beings off their game as they struggle for civil liberties. None of them want to reinforce the United States individual citizens' ability for religious freedom, recreational liberties, or security and personal property like this guy right here will keep pushing for, because that is the agenda that matters. The other stuff will work itself out. We had the one trade tax, the other countries, these 57, it's the perfect time. Just like illustrated by Haiti right now, we're done with this election of the Republican in the hierarchies, handing the ball back and forth, Democrat to the Republican, and it's the hierarchies of these people. It's not every member of Congress even has a voice. I didn't know it was that bad, but there's such a hierarchy that you got to be in Congress for years to get established. No, each citizen, each state that has a delegate, they vote for their delegate to go to Washington and represent them on equal footing with every other representative. We don't have equality. The what is that thing called? I need to write that down right there. The Electoral College. That's not freedom. That's not democracy. That's a hierarchy. That's where we're compromised, along with people being able to sell their to be compensated for their vote in one form or another. That's why we got to get rid of the appropriations on a case-by-case process. We have right-of-ways established. If they need to be broadened because of the traffic at that right-of-way, that is where eminent domain should be used. Not, oh, well, we're getting congested over here. Let's go over here 5 miles and bulldoze this small community and pave it too. No, you stick with what you got. We've already fragmented this country enough. People that own large chunks of land, hallelujah, they're probably just going to be raising hay and trees. So hallelujah. Don't tax them. Let them hold that property forever. Odds are they'll be able to enjoy it. I got a piece of property. I have to keep on servicing the taxes. I'd rather just not build on it. I'd rather let that piece of property sit vacant like a vacant garden. Well, actually, it's got grapevines all over it, but they don't service the debt of the... There's not enough grapes to service the debt of the annual taxes. In some years, the grapes don't even make. So I'm paying to preserve for future generations my trees. Seems crazy. People who die and will their stuff to the park system, they are willing it to the park system so the government can, on a case-by-case situation, liquidate it at their disposal. They're donating it because they want it to stay the way it is naturally for on down the road. They want it to stay green. They don't want it to be liquidated. We don't have national forests as a savings account to liquidate, just like you did the Social Security system. We got to stop being allowed to liquidate on a case-by-case and appropriate on a case-by-case situation. What we can't do is mandate that companies have to pay a regular paycheck to male and female. Whoever does the best work normally gets paid the best. They say skilled labor is not cheap. Well, if you're selling yourself cheap, you must not be that skilled. Is that what they're saying? Anyhow, this is a lot of what I wanted to say. And I hope I got it all in. And I hope that you understand that we can do a lot better if we work together. And we need to do a lot better to preserve personal property than what we have now. My whole adolescence from 15 to 20, what was it? It was about 14 till I was 18, all I knew was they was going to bulldoze me over. So, there you go. There's 20 more minutes of me trying to tell you that the system has to change, and we cannot vote for any more. I mean, we just got to have a system, and we need to have it laid down. We cannot put walls up. We cannot do all this backward stuff. We cannot allow people who have assets to regulate, to assets in the corrupt administrative stuff like the insurance markets and the pharmaceutical markets, to regulate us common citizens. We can incentivize that stuff. And we're going to educate, we're going to redefine. We shouldn't be able to drink till we're 23. If we're going to stay in college and so-called, quote, get an education, why are you going to go and let them drink and pay them to... No. If they want to go drinking stuff, they need to get done with school and join the workforce. School should be minimal. If they can't teach you in your primary education through your K through 12, what do you think about it? 4 more years of not being out here working on your dexterity, the employer can teach you better than the school. Because things change every day. You can apply something here. I don't know. I mean, they're just milking you, trying to say that, oh, you're going to live longer, blah, blah, blah. You got to work longer, blah, blah, blah. You got to be in the system longer, blah, 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 or you're nothing. I achieved high school real quick. I was out when I was 16. Because it really did not offer any security. Look at '08. That was a product of the elitists, not the hard-working citizen. Hard-working citizens, I don't know. I mean, people who produce stuff didn't have it that bad. Didn't hurt me at all, really. I don't know. I'm rambling now, just trying to put a point. I don't know, but it's got to be a better system than the case-by-case appropriations.